everyone, it's Hayes, and in today's video we are going to be doing the commentary / analysis for episode 21 of Miraculous Ladybug season 4, Dearest Family. And before I go any further, as always, I'm about to spoil the entire episode, so if you haven't already seen the episode, please check the description box for where you can go and watch it. However, please know those links will eventually expire as videos get taken down for copyright and stuff like that. So, my quick thoughts on the episode. I really liked it. I don't really think there's anything bad about the episode, but I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. And maybe this is my own fault, more than likely is my own fault, but I was expecting a lot more, and it did come off as kind of anticlimactic, just because, I don't know, I feel like going into the episode, and I filmed a reaction video, so you're going to see the reaction video after this video, but I filmed it before I filmed this video, obviously. I said from the episode I was expecting little to no Love Square content, and we did get that tiny bit at the end, which I'm in love with that moment, not gonna lie. I loved that part. I was expecting 40% of the episode to be focused on Marinette's family and their akumatization, 40% on whatever was up with Tikki, and then 20% on the charms. The episode really delivered with Shadow Daddy and the charm and akumatizing people, and it really delivered on Marinette's family getting akumatized, but where Tikki and her using her power was concerned, I was expecting a lot more in that department, and it was solved quite easily, and it left me feeling unsatisfied. So this wasn't a bad episode by any means, but honestly, looking at my notes already, I don't have that much to say about the episode. I usually take, for an episode that has a lot of plot, which this one did, usually take about 3 pages of notes to then talk about, but I actually made the same amount of notes for Dearest Family as I did for Simple Man, which was a very not plot heavy, just a filler episode, you know what I mean? So I'm expecting this video to be shorter, but then again it might also end up being half an hour. Who knows, it depends when we get into really discussing it. But yeah, I think maybe, again, my fault, maybe the trailers just made it seem that it was going to be more intense than it actually was, so I was expecting more and we didn't really get that more. With the charms and Marinette's family, it really delivered there, but I feel like the episode fell flat a bit where Tikki was concerned. However, I did really enjoy the fact, we're getting into it now, this is not the short thoughts anymore. I liked how they did discuss and how Nathalie had realised that your powers are only limited by the holder's mind, their expectations, and that you can evolve them yourself. So I am hoping at some point in the show, will it be this season? Not sure. Some point in the show, Cat Noir will evolve his own power and give himself something else. What that something else could be, not quite sure. And this cataclysm in this episode was really quite different actually. I really liked it, the way it was done. And I don't think he has evolved his power yet, unless he did in episode 20, but the way he used his cataclysm in this episode reminded me of Julika's power in Crocodile. So, and he looked pretty like jealous of that power, so maybe he was like, I'm gonna do that but with destruction instead of just yeeting them away as far as possible. So maybe he did do it in 20, but I don't know, I feel like if he is gonna do it, it'd be something a bit more than that, but I'm excited for him to do it. And also, can I just point out to all of you, I said this in my reaction video so you don't know it yet, but that Gabe Nath moment. So, you know, obviously she's still in bed, she's having a nap, longest nap in the history of ever. And so she's on bed rest essentially, but she's still trying to help Gabriel because even though she knows he's doing this for his wife, she'll be there for him until the end of time. I physically couldn't do this to myself. I couldn't. Like, I don't know how Nathalie does it, but anyway. So Gabriel, in his lair, because I'm pretty sure those weren't there the last time we were in there, he has put in a table and a little, I don't know the proper word for it, but you know, like, I put a picture on the screen, like a holder for the tablet. So just like a hands-free, like people have them for the phone where you can put them up so they're hands-free, so you can FaceTime with someone or do some other kinds of work whilst you can hold other things. So I'm assuming he's put those in there specifically for Nathalie, so he can talk to Nathalie whilst he's in the lair. If that doesn't communicate to you that Gabe Nath should be the ship you're all shipping in the show, then I'm not sure how else to convince you. I'm not sure, because it was a very small thing. He didn't really do anything, he just used it, you know. But to me, that being there, it just spoke volumes to me, alright? I have a Gabe Nath agenda, and I was so happy. I was like, that is adorable. Get you a man like Daddy Agrest, who doesn't terrorise children, everything but that, and also neglect his own son. Apart from those things, and also trying to bring his wife back to life, apart from those massive red flags, everything else he does, like letting Nathalie rest and stuff like that, and him being a total sweetheart to her, get you someone like that who doesn't do the other criminal offences. I think he could be a great boyfriend if he wasn't a felon, you know what I mean? So now let's talk about the charm, and I think it made it pretty clear that he can do this whenever. I know a lot of people were saying, oh, he can only do this once because he only has one charm, he can only get people akumatized because he needs the charm in order to create this other kind of akuma. I think this episode showed he obviously doesn't need that. He was just testing out with his own charm what he could do, what the limits of it were, how he could get around it, stuff like that. So I really liked the way it was explained, because in the trailers this was the least clear thing ever, which I really liked about it. I'm not complaining. Like, the trailers were just like, he's doing something. So I really actually liked all the spoilers we got for this episode. The synopsis was the most vague thing I have ever read in my life, and I've read many things. read many things, and that was the most vague thing I have ever read before. And the two trailers we got, very vague, so much out of context. It was great. I loved it. The spoilers for this episode, perfect. Trailers should always be that vague. When you're gonna release a trailer, even if you put dialogue in it, please make it as vague as you do for Dearest Family, because these trailers were absolute perfection. I had no idea how he was going to work around the Akuma with the charm and stuff until I sat down to watch the episode for the first time this morning. Perfectly done, perfectly executed. Thank you very much to the people who wrote that scene and to the people who made trailers using that scene, because you both did a spectacular job. It was great. So, but I think it showed to us he can do this whenever. He just needs to focus on the Akuma with sheer willpower. That's all you need. You just need willpower and Miraculous. No other special abilities other than the will. That's all you need. So with the sheer willpower, when you're done, it will break the charm. So he akumatizes himself, breaks his charm. He akumatizes the 4 adults, and it breaks Sabine and Roland's charm. Tom and Gina obviously don't have a charm. And I was kind of, this was just a theory I'd had, there was no confirmation. I was kind of a bit sad that Shadow Daddy wasn't targeting the Dupanchengs. That sounds a bit mean. Like, I kind of was hoping he was targeting them though. I know it's mean that, like, oh yeah, he should have been targeting this child because he suspects she was Ladybug. But you know, we are 4 seasons in. I was hoping that he'd maybe have some suspects, because as much as Marinette and Adrian have absolutely no idea who Shadow Daddy is, he also has really no idea who they are. Neither of them are any of the wiser, and we're coming to the end of season 4, so I was hoping that he would be suspicious of someone. And we all know episode 20, the one before this, Cheelin, Sabine is akumatized for the first time, that something would have happened to make him suspicious. So while I was, okay, I'm happy that he doesn't suspect Marinette, I was kind of like, it would have brought some drama to the table if he did suspect Marinette being Ladybug. Am I expecting too much? Maybe. But again, we are on season 4 of the show, and we are getting up towards the finale as well. I personally don't feel like I was expecting too much, but you are allowed to disagree with me, of course you are. And speaking of which, we are on season 4, but I did really like this episode for some timeline details. So we know Marinette's birthday was in Befana, which is in season 2, but a whole year has not passed yet, because I mean a whole year would have passed, it would be a new school year, and Adrien would have his birthday. He seems to have his birthday right at the start of the academic year, which in France, same as the UK school year, starts in September. And they did say repeatedly, you know, this is Galat Day, this is the King's Day, which I'm pretty sure, we don't have it here, but it's the 6th of January. And they said in the episode, Marinette is still 14, she's had a birthday, you were at her birthday party, Gina, she is still 14. So I'm trying to put together a video, trying to work out the timeline of this show. So this episode was really helpful from that perspective, but I'm also now thinking, wow, not even a year has passed since the start of the show, or at the very least since Marinette's 14th birthday. All this has happened in like, what, the space of 8 to 10 months presumably? I can't imagine the amount of stress Marinette is under. It would have been stressful for this to happen over the course of like 3 years, but for all to happen within less than a year? I couldn't do it. I'd have a mental breakdown a lot sooner than Marinette did in Gang of Secrets. I'd have probably had a mental breakdown by Mr. Pigeon. The first Mr. Pigeon. I couldn't have lasted to Mr. Pigeon 72. I couldn't have lasted to Mr. Pigeon 6. Alright? I couldn't do it. No, it's a no from me. I am the wrong choice to have a Miraculous in any situation. Do not give me any large amount of responsibility, because I will mess it up, guaranteed, no doubt about it. Do not let me do anything for you, okay? And now let's talk about Sass, I'm never really sure how to say it, the snake Kwami. Doesn't he think at this point, when Tikki's starting to lose it just a little bit, that he should maybe tell Marinette the big implications instead of being like, this isn't good? Well, see ya, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like he should have said something about what this actually means, what could be the bigger implications here, and also why is he in charge? I would argue that him, Bark and Waze, so Bark and Waze, he sent them out to go on, like, spy on Tikki and Marinette essentially. I would argue those 3 Kwamis are the wisest Kwamis. You know, Bark stayed behind in Furious Fu to keep an eye on the miracle box. What else do we have? Waze is also, he was with Master Fu for the longest, and Waze's screen time in the first 3 seasons were with Master Fu, and he was giving advice to Marinette. And Sass just seems, he just seems like a super chill Kwami who's got his head on straight, you know what I mean? So I appreciated him taking charge, but I was also like, why are you in charge? And secondly, don't you think you should tell Marinette the wider implications of what might happen? But he obviously voted for a no until it was too late, and still didn't even really explain it to her. But also, right, first of all, Marinette when she was hungry, or Tikki when she was hungry whilst Marinette was transformed, some of those facial expressions will haunt me for the rest of my life. I mean, honestly, this whole show is gonna haunt me for the rest of my life, to be fair. But yeah, first of all, those facial expressions are from hell. Second of all, maybe I just haven't noticed it before, but have Marinette and Adrien always kind of embodied Tikki and Plag's personalities when they've been transformed? Because to me, Marinette, when she's with her friends like Alia, Milan and so on, she has been more Ladybug-like in that she's been more confident and assertive and has shown those leadership skills. So to me, Marinette is very much like Ladybug, but only around certain people, whereas Adrien is only like Cat Noir. When he's Cat Noir, he has very, very few moments in the show where he's kind of more flirty and cheeky with people. Very few moments. Like an example is with Marinette in Reversa. So I've always been kind of like, maybe like Adrien is taking a bit of Plag's personality with him when he's Cat Noir. However, I've never really felt, but again, we don't know a great deal about Trix. Trix never has that many lines. I've never really felt Alia has taken on any of Trix's personality. I feel like Alia, when she's Rena Rouge or Rena Furtive, is always very much herself. Same with Nino as Carapace, same with Chloe as Queen Bee. I want to say Zoe with Vesperia, but we don't know Zoe all that well in comparison to Chloe. Like, Pollen comes across as kind of posh, but very nice. And Chloe can still be quite mean as Queen Bee. So I'm not sure. I've always kind of thought the Kwamis do influence ever so slightly their holder's personality when they're transformed, but I don't know. I find it a bit odd that Tikki's hunger transfers to Marinette. Is there another example of this in the show? Let trying to think. I know Tikki got ill in Princess Fragrance, but Marinette didn't transform until Tikki had been healed, right? So I don't think there is another example of such a blatant display of this personality exchange between them that I can recall. If you remember something, please let me know, but right now mind is blank because it's just filled with pictures of Marinettes being hungry, essentially. And speaking of which, again, this is another thing that I found anticlimactic. I did find it extremely hard to believe that Tikki going ballistic and creating this massive creation was just as a result of her really wanting this galette and not getting it immediately, and then she wanted more but couldn't get it more. I find that a bit of an odd explanation for why she kind of goes berserk, if you will. You know what I mean? I thought there would be a bigger reason, like in my, I think my last Dearest Family video I made when the synopsis was released and I tried to put all the screenshots together to work out what was going on. I kind of theorised that I thought Tikki was kind of malfunctioning because Shadow Daddy had bypassed these charms and he was directly subverting her power as one of the most powerful Miraculouses, and that was making her crazy because in comparison, when Plag used his power in Style Queen and Kalki in Soul Crusher and Trix in Gang of Secrets, they all did it quite willingly. Tikki did very much seem like all of this was against her will. She was, as stated in the episode, completely out of control. So I do kind of find it hard to believe that it was just because she was really hungry for this one thing that for whatever reason she just couldn't get enough of. Do you know what I mean? It was a bit like, okay then. No. That was another thing that kind of made me put it at 8 out of 10 and not give it a bit higher, was because of that reasoning. It was just a bit like, alright, not really, but okay, alright, I'll buy it, but only on sale, you know what I mean? It was a bit strange. I guess the reasoning could be behind that is if Tikki goes ballistic every single time Shadow Daddy akumatizes someone with a charm, then she would go berserk every time, which is one way to explain why they didn't do it. However, if that was the case, it could bring about some much needed drama around the Ladybug Miraculous, and it may be kind of like malfunctioning. I think that would be interesting to see, but that's obviously not the direction they're taking it. But I did think it was a bit of a poor excuse, essentially, sorry. I just thought it was, personally, from a writer's perspective. That's all. And speaking of which, Marinette or Ladybug at any point, she didn't seem all that concerned that two people she'd given charms to got akumatized. When she was talking to Cat Noir about it, she was like, well, I gave them charms, but I guess Shadow Daddy got around that somehow. And later on, when they were back at the house and they just destroyed the Akuma and the butterfly flew out and they saw it was like a mega butterfly, I guess it's probably a bit bigger than the other ones. Honestly, to me, they look the same, but I have bad eyesight, so I just think it's a bit bigger. There's no other discernible features about it other than it's bigger, so it's a mega Akuma, I don't know. But she never really seemed all that concerned about it. I'd be really concerned. I'd be like, okay, what are we gonna do then? Because now no one is safe. I know she never gave Alia a charm in the first place, and obviously she doesn't know that Luca knows what's going down, but Luca doesn't have a charm either. So really, from my perspective, Marinette can really trust pretty much no one apart from maybe Suhan, we could argue, since we know he can resist Akumas very well in comparison to other people. I know Alia did it and Nino's done it, but it looked kind of painful, whereas Suhan, it didn't even touch him, you know what I mean? So I guess it really shows that she really shouldn't have told anyone her identity, you know what I mean? Because no one is safe from getting akumatized anymore. But she didn't seem all that concerned about it. I would have been majorly concerned, but I guess this does get around the whole thing. I was like, when these charms first appeared, I was like, okay, well eventually you're going to give a charm to everybody in Paris. How is the rest of the show going to work if everyone's got a charm and no one can get akumatized? I guess this is how the rest of the show is going to work. If someone has a charm, they get a mega Akuma. If they don't have a charm, they get a normal Akuma. And then she gives them a charm anyway. Just in case, even though they can be broken and are really pointless. Okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. Okay. Again, what I said about Tikki and Marinette, I thought what was going on there was really easily solved, of Tikki just being like, I thought you'd hate me if I couldn't control myself. Marinette's like, we all have flaws, you just gotta try harder to control yourself. And they were very cute when like Tikki grabbed Marinette's hands. It was a lovely moment, I thought it was adorable. But I just felt that section was solved so easily. That was the most anticlimactic part of the episode. So like that Akuma fight with those 4 villains, the way it was like directed or choreographed, I don't know the right word to describe these things, but just the way it looked and moved on screen looked absolutely incredible. I loved it so much. That was brilliant. The stuff with Shadow Daddy and the charm, also brilliant. But it was just solved, yeah, it was just solved a bit too easily. But the Akuma fight was really good. However, Cat Noir, he really is deaf. Like, we got a hint of his hearing problems with Adrian in Mega Leech, where Marinette was like gushing about him and he was stood right next to her and he was like, oh, I'm sorry, what did you say? And she was like, absolutely nothing. And then also in Simple Man in the English dub, she pretty much proposes to him over the phone and it just goes right over his head. However, he did question in this episode, I was like, thank God you noticed it. She said, oh, it must be at home. And he's like, at home? I'm sorry, what? At home? And she was like, oh, no, at the house, their house, not my house. I don't live there. Okay. I like that he questioned it because really at that point it's like, are you stupid? So I'm really happy he questioned it. But also like, come on, follow up on it. Yes, you denied it, but you've denied things as well that you've accidentally revealed about your personal life. Like, put 2 and 2 together, mate. Take all these clues that she's denied but been kind of sketchy about and work out who she is. It's not that difficult, mate. You can do it, I know you can. Just gotta use your brain for once. However, that Lady Noir moment in the kitchen where they both got the crowns on and he asks her to be his queen. Beautiful, I loved it. I was expecting absolutely 0 love square from this episode and that was literally the only love square moment we got. And I am beyond happy with it. Beyond. Just... I don't have anything else to say about it, that moment. It was just beautiful, it was perfect. However, again, I was actually expecting, as much as I love this moment, I was expecting the Lady Noir to be more disjointed by this point. I know we don't know what happens in episode 20, and I wish we'd seen 21st. I would rather have seen Cheelin have her debut to us in episode 20, her actual debut, than seeing her in Dearest Family. Her power looks cool, it just looks like she's dead fast. I still haven't done research about Cheelin. I think it's like a mythological... I've heard stuff about it being a mythological dragon or a unicorn or a mix of both. I keep hearing conflicting stories about it. But anyway, it just seemed like she was really fast. That seemed to be her only power. It looked cool though. But I was expecting Lady Noir to be more disjointed by this point. But again, that might be because of my own expectations of them having a big fat argument in episode 22. And we got that synopsis last night. And I am not okay. In the slightest. No... I'm not alright. At all. I don't think I'm ever going to be okay again after this season ends. I'm just... I need some therapy. Okay, I need therapy. So overall, wow, that was an extremely quick film. Like I said, didn't have a lot to say about it. I thought it was a good episode and there were some things I'd want to question, but there wasn't that much to commentate on or analyse other than the charms, but it was explained really well in the episode, so I don't think there's much more I can say other than what's even the point of giving out these charms anymore since they're useless. You know what I mean? Pretty much. Like, I guess maybe, so for example, let's think of Juleka. Juleka has a charm and Akuma goes for Juleka, but it's a normal Akuma and it can't Akumatize her, but it could just fly off and Akumatize someone else who doesn't have a charm, and then at a later date Shadow Daddy's like, okay, well this girl has a charm, I will make a Mega Akuma instead. That's the only thing I really have to say. What was the point of Ladybug giving them out? I don't know, and I think the stuff with Tikki was just, first of all, the reasoning for it. It wasn't what I expected, and I don't think it was plausible enough as a reason, and second of all, it was also resolved extremely quickly but in an extremely unsatisfying way. So this episode was really good. It wasn't a bad episode by any means, but because it felt anticlimactic and it was lacking in a few places, and I'm not talking about lacking in the love square. I know a lot of people don't watch the show for the love square, and if you don't, can you please tell me how you managed to survive the first 2 seasons? Because if you weren't here for the love square and just for the plot, I would have stopped watching it within 10 minutes, to be honest, if I wasn't here for the ships. Sorry. Season 1, just the plot, until you get to Volpina and Origins, isn't it if you're here for the plot. Anyway, so I do feel like it was lacking in some areas. The love square moment was unexpected but adorable. So for that reason, overall, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. But I do think I was expecting a bit more for the build up to episode 100, which is the episode after this one, episode 22, Ephemeral. I don't know, what's your opinion on it? Did you feel like it was anticlimactic? I haven't read people's comments yet, so what I did is I filmed the reaction video, then I rewatched the episode 2 times, took screenshots, took my notes, sat down and filmed this. I had a brief scroll through the comments. There are a lot of comments I have to reply to. Looks like over 100. I stopped replying to comments at some point last night because I thought I was going to get carpal tunnel. There were a lot of comments. Alright, a lot. A lot. I have so many comments to reply to. But anyway, so yeah, 8 out of 10. I really want to know what you think. Did you feel like it was anticlimactic? And what did you think specifically about how the Tikki situation first of all came about and second of all was resolved? Because to me, it was kind of implausible the way it came about, and it was also solved just too easily for something that major. Like, we saw like what looked like Tikki's kind of like humanoid form in the pink column thing, the pink mist, the fog, whatever it actually was, because I'm not sure. It was just kind of brushed under the rug, you know what I mean? And also, Marinette wasn't that concerned that Shadow Daddy has evolved his power to do this. I don't know, I would have been really concerned. I would have been like, oh god, no one is safe, I can't trust anyone with my identity, what have I done, this is a disaster. I'd be thinking so many things, and she was like, well, he's worked out a way to get past that. Well, anyway, you know what I mean. Best line of the episode was from Tom when he said, what did he said? She is my baby. I hope they keep that line in the English dub. I know some things change between dubs with the exact lines, but I really hope they keep that one in because it was Tom down to a T. And MVP of this episode, I was kind of like, shall I give it to Sass? He did kind of take charge, he was kind of helpful, but he also didn't tell Ladybug what was up properly in time to save the day, so I was like, Sass, yeah, you helped a bit, but you didn't help enough. So I'm actually going to give MVP to Adrian because he was great in this episode, and I would assume during the events of this episode he was alone in his room until the Akuma happened, being sad because everyone else in France gets to celebrate Galette Day with their family, while his dad is up in his evil lair eating galette on his own. So I'd really, really love to know what you thought of this episode. What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? And I will see you all next time. Bye!